Alright, we are live here back on Brent's World. Last half an hour here. I am Michael Reiner, the co-host of MitchNMike, every Monday night from 10 p.m. to midnight here on BoxRollRadio.com. Michael, how are you?
Oh yeah, Brandon's World. It's the Macho Man Randy Savage, and we're coming here live from Black Squirrel Radio. How's it going today, Brandon? Coming here to talk some wrestling. We got some Elimination Chamber coming up on Sunday, and just a big weekend in wrestling in general. We'll get to it.
You call it a big weekend? I don't really think it's that big of a weekend, to be honest. I'm not looking forward to it, really. I mean, I think the build's been terrible. I think everything's predictable. I don't even understand why they're having this pay-per-view.
And that's what I'm worried about, Brandon, because if you're not giving me a good go-home show, as they call it, on Monday and Tuesday on Raw and SmackDown the week before the pay-per-view, I'm just going to, breeze through it and act like it didn't even happen. And unfortunately, hopefully we get some outcomes on Sunday that really go in our favor, a lot of shock and surprises, and I'm going to get into my chamber predictions here once we get to that. But Elimination Chamber from Houston, the home of my favorite podcaster in all of wrestling, Mr. Bruce Pritchard. It should be a fun venue. And what's the match that you're most excited for, Brandon?
The match I'm most excited for? Probably the only one I think that's unpredictable is the Women's Elimination Chamber for the Tag Team Championship, the first ever Women's Tag Team Championships.
Big deal.
It should be more of a big deal than what they're making it, in my opinion. I don't think they've built it right on TV. And I don't think the match is going to be that great. I think the chamber is going to get too crowded. I just have this bad feeling about this whole pay-per-view, like it's going to be a mess.
I have a bad feeling about it, too. I feel like there's a way to pull this off without Bayley and Sasha Banks winning the titles. And I think that I'm going to get into my prediction here. I think in past WrestleManias in the Ruthless Aggression era, you saw Raw and SmackDown interchangeable matches. So I think that in order for Bayley and Sasha Banks to really overcome that mountain as the Boss and Hug Connection as a tag team, with their friendship and all of the stuff that's been going on the past year with those two, you got to have quality heels on the other side win the thing by hook or by crook. And I think that it's not going to be Nia Jax and Tamina. It's going to be my favorite Aussies, the Iconics, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. I think somehow, some way, they're not the prototypical women's wrestlers that you see in this match. They probably aren't your first choice. But I think that these two girls, they're so much fun when they do promos. They make me laugh. They really know how to get heat with the crowd. The crowd actually boos them, which is a big deal. And I would like to see those two win the match.
Oh, Michael, you almost made me fall out of my chair. I can't believe you just said that.
What are you talking about?
I think they're going to be the first eliminated. I think they're a joke. I think they're going to become the jobbers of the woman division. I really do. What have they done in the past year since they've come up? Absolutely nothing.
Which is the perfect reason why they want to pull the trigger right now.
But they have no momentum, though.
They could build it till WrestleMania. Banks and Bayley could win the championship, and then we could go all the way till summertime with some Nia Jax and Tamina against Bayley and Sasha Banks, because that is a lengthy feud, because they're both on the same brand, and I don't think that either of these teams, at the end of the day, the other team that could probably switch brands is Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose for the Superstar Shakeup. Other than that, I don't see anything else coming into play there.
Well, I guess we have to think.
So Iconics are going to get the W.
I don't see it happening. I really don't. That came out of left field for me. I think that there's only two possible teams that can win the match. I think it's Bayley and Sasha and Nia or Tamina. It's the only way I see it. Now again, I'm looking at it from the perspective of they've just, like you said, like you're looking at it from a big picture perspective. Like I'm just looking at it like these are the only teams that have momentum. These are the only teams that have done anything.
But I think in the past, and especially the past year, WWE has been giving us unexpected victors on pretty much every single pay-per-view since about WrestleMania 34. Really, if you want to go all the way back to WrestleMania 34, we thought that it was going to be a very predictable show, and in their eyes, They wanted to make it the most unpredictable show in a long time since the Attitude Era, really, that WrestleMania 34 show. Whether you thought it was good, whether you thought it was bad, that show kind of set the precedent. And I think one match on every pay-per-view this year has kind of been unexpected. And I feel like this is my unexpected match here. The Iconics getting the W. They make me laugh.
See,
awesome.
I think my unexpected, this is what I would love for them to do, is take the title off Ronda. Do the biggest shock you can and put Ruby right. That would be to me more shocking than anything, would be to put the title on Ruby.
Like, there's just no way. Like, how quick is Ronda actually going to beat Ruby Riott? In my opinion, that match should go about 30 seconds. We shouldn't even have this discussion on the show.
Again, that's my problem with the whole pay-per-view, is the predictability part.
Right, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're trying to book Charlotte, the best women's wrestler who's ever lived. Becky Lynch, they're trying to book as the next Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Ronda Rousey, who's had probably, I'll say it, the best rookie year in the history of pro wrestling.
Oh, I'll give it to you, yeah.
You need to have these three girls in a triple threat match at WrestleMania to close the show from MetLife Stadium. There's no way to go around it. And I believe that Ronda's got to keep the title. And if Ronda's going to lose, it's got to be in a situation where she looks stronger. She can't look weak in that respect. And I've got Ronda losing at WrestleMania, but we'll get into that in another day.
Look, I'm just saying, obviously it's not going to happen. I would just love for the surprise factor. Now, I disagree with you on the point. I don't like the fact that Charlotte's in the match at all.
Why?
I think that Ronda and Becky deserve a one-on-one match. Charlotte already got her match at Survivor Series. Now, originally, as we know, the plan was Ronda and Becky at Survivor Series, and Ronda and Charlotte was probably going to be at WrestleMania. That would be okay with me. I think my problem is Charlotte doesn't need to be in this match at all. She's had nothing to do with. I mean, Ronda cost her the championship at TLC.
Right.
But ever since, there's been nothing to do, and now they just throw her into this match because Vince McMahon wanted her to be champion.
Did you forget about Survivor Series? Because that was probably one of the top 5 matches of 2018. Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey, and it was a DQ finish. Think about that, Brandon. What are they going to do with Charlotte Flair if she's not in this match? Who is she going to feud with? Is she really going to be in the Women's Battle Royal? Because she is way too good to be in that kind of match.
She hasn't done anything since TLC, though.
But it doesn't matter because they started the feud at Survivor Series. Ronda got smacked with the kendo stick, and now Ronda interferes and screws Charlotte out of the championship. Okay, and you have so much time to build to this moment to get Charlotte into the match, especially because Becky Lynch is kind of the one that all hardcore fans get into is Becky Lynch because she's work hard, she's a great worker, she has a great character right now. Ronda Rousey's kind of the mainstream star that is getting fans from outside of the realm to come in, and then you have Charlotte Flair, who's kind of the company woman, as you could say. She's definitely the favorite among the front office, but I just feel like that adds an interesting dynamic because you can't book the match. Who wins? Who's going to win that triple threat match?
Absolutely Becky. I would bet 100% Becky Lynch.
And I agree with you. And you know what would make Ronda look the best? If she's going to go away for 6 months and she's going to become part-time, you know what? You'd have Becky pin Charlotte, and then Ronda goes off into the sunset. She still hadn't been pinned. It's good booking for Ronda because, you know what? She gets to go off and she doesn't lose in a poor fashion. And then on the other side, you've got Charlotte and Becky who are going to go at it on the Raw brand until who knows when. I could see that forever.
I mean, and I just think I've had this problem where it's becoming stale. Like, Charlotte and Becky to me are becoming stale. Like, together. Like, not so, but we've seen this so many times already. Like, they have feuded so much that, like, I don't know. Everything about this feels wrong for some reason.
Well, I mean, if you think about it this way, I mean, there are certain guys who mesh together, I think, because of their friendship. And the same here with this. When I see Charlotte and Becky Lynch, a good analogy from the Ruthless Aggression era was my man HBK, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H. That little rivalry that they had between 2002 and 2004 was really good stuff. And they kind of elevated themselves. Yes, it got boring to the crowd after a while, and I think that's just because of the pure heat that was on Triple H at the time. But I believe that fans today love the Becky-Charlotte feud, and they can't get enough of it, as proof by 3 or 4 matches in a row.
Yeah, they've moved from SmackDown, now they're going to Raw. It's like, it just feels backwards almost. Like, I just don't, they've taken Charlotte and they're just like, here, Charlotte, enter in the match. That's just how I feel. Like, they just threw her in. Like, what?
She's not, because of Survivor Series, my man. It was already done. Becky was injured in real life, and they created it. They said, we're going to get Charlotte in this match, and this is our golden ticket to do so. And all 3 of these women are going to be stronger coming out of it, and I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. But on to the men's chamber match. Who you got? You said it's pretty predictable, so I'm guessing who you...
Daniel Bryan, 120-30%. There is no way he loses this match. Eric Rowan's going to somehow get involved, whether it's on the outside of the chamber or on the inside. Daniel wins against somebody. Now, I don't know who he's facing at WrestleMania, but I'm telling you right now, there's no way he loses.
I completely 100% agree with you, 200%. But the thing I want to ask you is, real quick, is who's going to be the last guy involved? We saw Kofi Kingston get a huge push on SmackDown. Kofi's one of the best mid-card acts they've ever had. 11 years in the game, and he's just been a utility man. He's like a bullpen guy in baseball. He's just excellent, right? So if Kofi Kingston was the last guy on SmackDown, who's going to be the last guy against Bryan in this match, and what's going to happen?
I believe it's going to be AJ Styles. I think they're just going to tell the same story from the Rumble. AJ's about to win. Somehow Rowan, maybe he breaks open the chamber somehow and enters, maybe he destroys the referee and gets through. I think Kofi has a good performance. I think Kofi and Bryan probably start the match, is the way I'm thinking of it. But I think Kofi is like the second to third last guy eliminated. I don't think he is the last guy eliminated.
Well, I think I want to try to make this unique because I want to make this less predictable as possible. I think Daniel Bryan's going to win the match. As far as who's starting the match, I think that and all the guys in this match, you got to think about what's going to get the biggest pop from the crowd coming out of it. And I think it's going to be AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. I think they're going to start this match. And I think based on their TNA background, it's going to be wonderful to see them in front of that Houston crowd and to get that crowd going for this match. I think this match is going to end the show, and I believe they're going to go at it. And AJ Styles is going to hit the phenomenal forearm on Joe. And then out of nowhere, Orton comes out of the pod, breaks through the pod, RKO to Styles. And Styles is actually the first one eliminated by Randy Orton. And we build that feud between Styles and Orton all the way to WrestleMania. Okay, now the next person who comes in is Kofi Kingston. And he lasts for a while against Samoa Joe. We get some innovative, nice spots in there. And then Jeff Hardy comes in. And after a boom drop off the top of one of the pods to Samoa Joe catches Kofi Kingston, chokes him out with the Kia Corda clutch. And then Jeff Hardy lines up on another pod, gives Samoa Joe a swanton. And then I think we're down to the final two, or the final three. Then maybe, I guess, Orton would get out from Kingston eventually, kind of in the middle. Sorry about that. But the final two would be Daniel Bryan and Jeff Hardy. And you're thinking, now where am I going with this? Jeff Hardy deserves to be in the last two and deserves to be the #1 contender at WrestleMania because Matt's not wrestling anymore. That tag team isn't there. So I believe that Jeff Hardy deserves to have one last program at the top. He wouldn't win at WrestleMania before me, but you know what's going to happen? Eric Rowan's going to interfere. Eric Rowan and Luke Harper are going to interfere in this match. Take out Jeff Hardy. Daniel Bryan wins, but you know what's going to come out of the crowd? Vanguard 1, the little drone thing that Matt Hardy used for his broken Matt Hardy character, and then that kind of teases that Matt Hardy is going to come back and be back up for Jeff Hardy, and we get to see the broken Hardys up against Daniel Bryan and his intellectual peers, Harper and Rowan. heading into WrestleMania. And then after that, Daniel Bryan could win, Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy can retire, and they could finally go out and do what they want to do and then walk into the sunset, because we'll never get that Hardy match again. They had their WrestleMania moment a couple years ago, but that's kind of my shock finish. I believe that Bryan is going to win, but not without controversy.
Michael, did you think of that beforehand?
Yeah, like literally, just like when I was in the shower getting ready today, I just thought, you know what, out of all these guys, who needs it the most? I mean, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, they're of their time, they're veterans, but you know what? Samoa Joe's kind of in limbo. He's a heel, Daniel Bryan's a heel, isn't going to work. AJ Styles, we've seen it too many times. The crowd was stale at the Royal Rumble for their match. It isn't going to happen. Then you've got Kofi Kingston, which he's just merely a fill-in for Mustafa Ali. And Randy Orton, I think AJ Styles and Randy Orton is what's written on the wall, but we don't need a title in that because they're two amazing performers. We don't need the championship, right? So who's that guy that needs it the most? I believe it's Jeff Hardy. And I don't think that you can build a WrestleMania storyline without a big finish in this match. I believe it would just be tough to come out on SmackDown on Tuesday and try to build this, because I think something's going to happen on this show to make people care. And I believe that Hope and Jeff Hardy, especially when he's kind of lost a step in the ring, it would be a big deal for him to get some back up and broken Matt Hardy and have them feud up until WrestleMania. What do you think?
Well, Michael, I'm hating that. That's very good in depth. I love it. We do have about 10 minutes left, so I want to dive into some AEW right now. So give me your thoughts on AEW, just overall, man.
All Elite Wrestling, founded by Tony Khan, the son of the Jacksonville Jaguars owner, Shad Khan. Tony Khan's a big wrestling fan. If you want to hear more from Tony Khan, Talk is Jericho. Chris Jericho just had him on his podcast. I haven't listened to it yet. But basically, Tony Khan is just a fan of the wrestling business, right? And he wants to build a place in the wrestling industry where certain veterans, certain young guys can build themselves and really be creative all about themselves without being put down by WWE's corporate umbrella. And I know that's tough sometimes, but basically the guys that he contacted were the Elite. Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, two guys that are hot on the independent scene at the moment, and they were all in on this, and they created All in August, and that did well. It was in Chicago. It was the biggest independent show in the world. Starcast with my good friend Conrad Thompson. That was that weekend as well. But anyways, it was all that creation that formed AEW, and it was all through social media, All Elite Wrestling. They're talking about a TV deal, and basically they had their ticket tease giveaway party. I think it was last Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. And then they ended up selling their tickets on Thursday afternoon. They sold out in 4 minutes. And they're already announcing matches on the card. They have Hangman Adam Page going up against Adrian Neville, or what he calls himself Pac right now. And then on the other end, we get Kenny Omega against Chris Jericho too. A rematch from Wrestle Kingdom 12 when they squared off at the beginning of January last year. And I think it's going to be a really good card, and I'm interested to see who continues to sign.
Yeah, I think it would be a very positive thing for WWE personally, because I think that they need it. I think they need the competition. I think if AEW does this right, I think they could turn into a better WCW almost. But they have to do it right. Now, I'd be interested to see this, and I said this earlier, just throwing this out there. What if their TV deal, what if they do it head-to-head against Raw?
I don't think they can. I think that based on some things that I've researched, I've heard that they've registered the trademark Tuesday Night Dynamite. Which, I mean, I think that pretty much when SmackDown moves to Fox, I'm pretty sure they're going on to Fridays. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Because Fox wants SmackDown to kind of be like the Friday intro to like the Saturday and Sunday other content on Fox.
Right.
So them registering the Tuesday Night Dynamite is huge for them. Now, as far as networks go, I mean, you've either got TBS or TNT. Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks were in Atlanta for the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure they got their tickets from the Khan family. I think they were given the tickets, if I'm not mistaken. This is all per the Being the Elite series on YouTube. If you want to learn more about these guys, watch the Being the Elite series, where they just do a candid video of their lives on the road and what they're up to. But basically, I would love to see TBS or TNT pick it up. If it's Tuesday Night Dynamite, obviously you got to go with TNT. But as far as competing with Raw and SmackDown, I feel like going on a day where Raw, SmackDown, NXT isn't on like a Tuesday is perfect. Because for a fan like you that hasn't really gotten into the independent side of professional wrestling, you want to have a day where you're not worried about what's happening on the other side on SmackDown. You're not going to want to spend your time flipping the channels or looking at your phone while SmackDown's going on and trying to switch back and forth. I know it would have been fun back in the day between WWE and WCW, but it's not about TV ratings anymore, especially with WWE. USA signed them to a multi-year deal because USA needs them. They don't need USA. And they're not afraid of All Elite Wrestling right now. They're a little bit weary because the Khan family is actually worth 2 times more than the McMahon family is. But at the end of the day, I believe that Tuesday is the best move just because it helps them get their content out there. It's not about worrying what the other side is. In business and sports and anything in life, it's about worrying about yourself. And I think if they go head-to-head with WWE, they're going to struggle because, WWE is going to have another show with the Saudis. That's going to be heavily pushed. And, they might do well if they go head-to-head, but they're not going to really get their core audience and gain more unless they're on a different day.
I gotcha. Okay, because we haven't really talked about this at all between me and you. I wanted to get your thoughts on Dean Ambrose leaving.
You know what? I think that he would really thrive in All Elite Wrestling. And I believe that his best days in WWE were behind him. And I think that it was just kind of like a thing that was all based on circumstance. If Roman Reigns doesn't come down with his illness, and of course, Roman, we're thinking of you. But anyways, if Roman doesn't come down with those issues and that just unbelievable, heartbreaking cancer diagnosis, who knows what happens with the Shield?
Oh,
right?
I completely agree with you. Now, what I was reading is the original plan was for The Rock to win the Rumble and for him to face Roman at WrestleMania.
And it's always about vertical depth. As the great Jim Ross would say, a wrestling card is all about vertical depth, especially for pay-per-views. So if Roman never becomes sick, what happens with the rest of the Shield? What do? We don't know. We don't know what the plans were in creative for them before that. But before any of this happened, before the heel turn, anything, did they blunder what happened with basically his storyline with Seth Rollins? Yes. Did he have a rough match with Seth Rollins at TLC? Yes. But I think just from a creative standpoint, he said he was willing to take less money because he wanted to have that creative freedom. And he was able to have that creative freedom years back before he came to NXT and before he came to WWE as Jon Moxley in CZW. And he really was himself. And I think that's what he wants to get. He wants to return to 10 years ago when he had free roam, and I believe he could be booked as a top guy in All Elite Wrestling because of his star power that he already had. And I don't think that's going to hurt him. I think he will eventually come back when Roman comes back.
Oh, I completely agree.
5 years from now, come back.
See, to be honest, I don't think Ambrose goes anywhere. I really feel he just waits it out, and because I think Roman will be back by 2020. That's just my optimism on it. I feel that when Roman is back, Ambrose will be back. I think Ambrose is burned out and needs time off.
Absolutely, and I think it's not a real situation where there's any heat right now. I believe that Renee Young, outside of Corey Graves, is the best commentator on the main roster right now.
Absolutely.
She's fantastic, and I don't believe that, based on the statement by WWE, they posted a statement that they were very grateful with what Ambrose did for them, and basically with the way Renee Young, his wife, has been doing on commentary, there's no way that there's any heat between those two parties. And I think now more than ever, I think that we have the notion, especially because of back within the competitiveness of WWE and WCW, that we think there should be heat for guys that jump ship, and I don't believe that there is. I think WWE fully understands that there's a group of guys who aren't happy just because they're not going to get higher on the card, like your Jerichos, like if the Young Bucks were there, they wouldn't get as high on the card, like your Revival, like your Carl Anderson and Gallows, and I believe that they're okay with them leaving. So, what are your thoughts as far as All Elite Wrestling? Are you going to watch it if it's on TNT or on television?
Yeah, if they get a local cable deal, I think absolutely I will. I think the one thing that may hurt AEW is, they don't have a WWE network per se. So, are fans going to be willing to pay that 60, 70, whatever for a pay-per-view? And I think, because I think we're so used to WWE fans haven't had to pay for a pay-per-view in 5 years. If you think about it. So, are fans willing to pay that extra whatever for a pay-per-view?
But I think that they're also going for a niche market. They're going towards hardcore fans, and I think that the TV deal is meant to build the general audience who sees, okay, SmackDown's moved to Fridays, now I get my wrestling fix on TNT on Tuesdays. It's going to be heavily advertised. But what New Japan Pro Wrestling and what the All In pay-per-view did for their pay-per-views, they use the Fight app. And I think you pay for a subscription. I don't know whether it's 10, 15, 20 bucks. I haven't checked the price tag, but New Japan does that on their pay-per-views. Indie shows do that on their pay-per-views. Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, and I believe that they're going to go with the Fight app, and that's going to be the way they're going to build subscribers. I like it that way because there's no need to do pay-per-view buys because nobody buys pay-per-views anymore for any reason.
Right. Okay, we got about 2 minutes left, so let's just go in and wrap this up. So overall, there have been people saying that WrestleMania this year, the road to WrestleMania, quote unquote, has been the worst ever in their eyes. And I don't want to say I agree with them because I don't, but I just think the build has been poor. How do we get a good WrestleMania this year? Because I'm just not in that, yeah, I'm ready for WrestleMania. It's not there yet. I think the Royal Rumble was great, and then afterwards it's been a big letdown.
I think so. I think that it's just kind of been an overall struggle with things. I kind of give WWE a pass on this one because when you lose Roman Reigns,
absolutely,
you lose everything. And not that he's supremely talented, but when you have a top guy like Roman Reigns and you have to start everything from the bottom and you've got to continue working your way up to create new stars, there are men and women like Finn Balor and Becky Lynch who have said, I'm going to take this opportunity. It's frustrating that Roman had to leave because of something that was out of his control. But I believe that based on Roman Reigns leaving, you know what? I think it's been okay. I think that we've got some interesting stuff here and there. Of course, some things haven't hit and missed. But when you look at individual character building, I mean, you got Becky Lynch. You got your favorite guy in the company right now, Daniel Bryan, who's definitely the most entertaining that he's been in his career. And he has the championship, and he's the top guy. So I think that what they try to do in the media with wrestling is they try to book it like it's so horrible. They say it's the worst build-up ever. I believe that based on Roman leaving, I believe it's better than anything in the Ruthless Aggression era. I believe that this is the third best era in pro wrestling. I believe that the top one was the Attitude Era. I believe that the second one is the 80s era with Hogan, the golden era as they call it. And I believe this third one is this era right now. The network era is what I call it. Because you have access to watch the product that's on there right now, which has been okay with character development. You have the opportunity to watch old pay-per-views. And now we got All Elite Wrestling coming in. So I believe based on talent perspective, you've got Becky Lynch, you've got Daniel Bryan, you've got Seth Rollins. The guys and women that the fans like are getting pushed. And I think we're going to have a good WrestleMania. I think the build-up has been okay. It hasn't been top-notch. It hasn't been horrible. Somewhere in the middle, kind of like most years.
Hey guys, this is Brandon Lewis from Brandon's World here. Make sure you leave a like and comment right down below. And make sure you check out the show every Saturday from 10 to noon on BuckStoreRadio.com, the internet, or right here on the YouTube channel. Thanks, and you guys already know. See ya! It's out of here. It's Brandon's World.